Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're doing well. How did Islam become a global religion? That's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to react to today by Epic History. Of course, we already did the other video, which is how did Christianity spread? Basically, Christianity obviously has 2 billion plus followers, which makes it the top religion in the world when it comes to followers. I'm not sure if Islam's number 2. It might be. I can't remember. However, of course, what I know of Islam is it began in 630 something, right? Something around, it's either 636, 634, somewhere in that ballpark, in Medina or Mecca, one of the two cities, or actually these were very much like twin cities, I believe, in the early Islamic age. And then, of course, you have the Islamic expansion effort through the Rashidun Caliphate, which takes over Arabia. Then it takes over, parts of the Sassanid and Ghassanid, the vassal state of the Byzantine Empire. Then it starts to absorb lots of the places where the Eastern Romans were, and then fighting off the Persians and the North African people as well. So you have like a crazy, and we're gonna look at that obviously today, the Holy War, and then I'm just giving you pretext, and then of course you have expansions as far as like Central Asia into almost Eastern Asia, as far as Iberia. That's just like the caliphate, but then the religion goes further. It goes places all over the world, into Africa, into Europe, into Asia, and then individuals going all over the world into the Americas and so forth. So that's what we're going to react to today. Glad you're here. Let's jump right in. Let's not waste no more time.
Islam, the second most practiced religion on earth, emerges in the 7th century from what many at the time consider a backwater, the desert region of Arabia. The founder of Islam is Muhammad, a merchant born around 570 in the city of Mecca. In about 610, in the cave of Hira, he receives a series of revelations from the angel Jibreel, known in English as Gabriel.
Yeah, and by the way, obviously you guys really are going to know this already if you have any theological, historical knowledge, but the Abrahamic religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They share a lot of the Old Testament. They share a lot of that within the books, but the main schism, it's not even a schism, it's a different religion. The main religion difference is who is the prophet, who is the Messiah, those two things. And then it skews into it. From that fork, it starts to create different subsets. Obviously, you guys might already know that, obviously.
These revelations later become the basis of the holy book known as the Quran. The spiritual truth of Muhammad's message is a matter of faith. But his life and the impact of his message are to have profound historical significance. At first, Muhammad preaches privately to a select group of family and friends in Mecca. His message centers on the oneness of God, the need for moral reform, and the concept of Islam, submission to God. In time, the followers of this new faith will be known as Muslims. Muhammad then begins to preach in public and gains loyal followers known as the Sahaba. Muhammad's preaching brings him into conflict with members of his own tribe, the Quraysh. The two sides are soon in open war.
I did not know this.
Around this time, the concept of jihad begins to take shape. Jihad comes to have 2 meanings. The first, to strive to live in accordance with God's will, through personal effort and moral integrity. The second, physical acts of war, sanctioned by God. After years of
a lot of people say it's a jihad war.
Conflict with the Quraysh, Muhammad and his followers prevail. And by Muhammad's death in 632, much of Arabia has joined the movement he founded.
So just to back up here, I'm not gonna do a lot of pausing, but just to back up here, really, you can say Islam began around like 610, right? And then like internally, just for Muhammad, and then expands. Let's see, 612, it's more like a family and friends thing, and then he starts preaching in public. So I think my grounds of where Islam started are more around the grounds of where the Rashiduns start. So that's my bad. But
Muhammad and his followers prevail. And by Muhammad's death in 632, much of Arabia has joined the movement he founded. One of Muhammad's closest companions, Abu Bakr, is chosen as the first caliph, or successor to the Prophet. It is under his leadership, and that of his successors, that Islam will erupt out of Arabia to transform the Middle East and beyond.
here we go. The Caliphate.
Abu Bakr and his successor Omar send Arab armies to attack the two great powers of the age, the Sasanian Empire and Eastern Roman Empire.
Persians.
Both are worn down.
And Eastern Romans. Look how big Eastern Roma is at this point. This is after Justinian's wars to recapture the Vandals and part of the was it the Ostrogoths or the Visigoths? I can't remember. But anyway, they've taken a huge swath of land back at this point. So the Eastern Roman Empire has re-eclipsed a little bit at this time, and then the Persian Empire has always been pretty big, but they're in decline.
By decades of conflict against each other, and Arab armies strike like a thunderbolt. One by one, the great cities of the Levant, Syria, Egypt.
It's a little misleading. I think they started actually with the Euphrates and Tigris, and they worked that way, and then they kind of like met in the Levant. Yeah.
And Persia fall to Muslim forces.
I understand what it was doing though.
The people who live in these lands are predominantly a mix of Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians. These non-believers are treated as subjects by their new Arab rulers and pay taxes to them.
Yep.
But they can worship freely.
Yeah, jizya.
There are few forced conversions and little active preaching of Islam, and so the religion spreads slowly at first. Until now, the Quran has been primarily an oral tradition, supported by various written compilations. The exact circumstances are not clear, but during the reign of Caliph Uthman, the Quran is organized into a single text. This remains the basis for the holy book used around the world today.
1400 years old. Okay.
In 656, Uthman is murdered.
Oh.
The Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, Ali, is elected the new caliph. But others support Uthman's cousin, the governor of Syria, Muawiyah.
This is where you're going to start to have fitness.
This conflict triggers Islam's first fitna, or civil war. It is the root of the later division between Shiite and Sunni Muslims.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that, and me included, really. But when I say understand that, the difference between the Shia and the Sunni, maybe nation by nation, kind of like the migrations and what is a Shia state, what is a Sunni state. I need to do a little bit more research on my own side when it comes to like which nations are what and what does that mean for the modern world. But for the ancient world, this isn't really ancient world, but you know what I mean.
Shia, from Shiat Ali, the party of Ali. Sunni, from Allah Sunnah, the people of the Prophet's way. In 661, Ali is assassinated by a group who become known as the Khawarij.
Sounds So much infighting. It's insane, isn't it?
The Umayyad dynasty seized power, moving the capital of the caliphate to Damascus.
Right, Syria.
In 680, a rebellion by Ali's son Hussein ends at Karbala, when he and his small band of followers are massacred by Umayyad forces. It is a key moment in the transformation of Shi'ism from political movement to a distinct branch of Islam. Shias will look to the leadership of Muhammad's direct descendants. Sunnis will look back to the time of the Prophet and his companions. The Islamic world, riven by warring factions, plunges into a second fitna. But after 12 years of civil war and turmoil, great new conquests will follow.
The Umayyads.
By 692, the Umayyads regain control of the Islamic Caliphate and resume their conquest of North Africa.
Yeah, that's what it's called, the Maghreb, which is like a lot of the North African side. I forgot about that region, but yeah, the huge part of this, I believe, was it Tripoli or Carthage? It was one of those two cities. That was it was a stubborn city. They just did not want to give in to the siege, but eventually it does fall.
Islam spreads quickly among the Berber tribes. And it is a Berber convert, Tariq, who leads Umayyad forces into Iberia. En route, he gives his name to Jabal Tariq, the Rock of Gibraltar. He defeats the Visigoth king Roderick and goes on to conquer much of Spain. The Umayyad Empire now stretches from the Atlantic coast to modern Pakistan.
Yeah, look at that. I think that's as large as it's ever going to get right there. Pretty sure.
Most of its population remains non-Muslim. But
I'm not pretty sure. I think Anatolia they'll carve up Anatolia a little bit more.
There are now a growing number of converts across North Africa, Persia, and Central Asia, known as Mawali. They are treated as inferiors by the Arab elite, stoking resentment. And in 747, rebellion erupts in Khorasan. The Abbasid family, claiming descent from the Prophet's uncle Abbas, claim leadership of this revolt. In 750, they defeat the Umayyads at the Zab River, then systematically wipe out almost the entire dynasty.
Crazy.
Only one Umayyad prince, Abd al-Rahman, escapes to Al-Andalus, where he establishes the independent emirate of Cordoba in 756.
See, that's I think this is like where a lot of my education stops, is like the Umayyad dynasty. I do know the Abbasids is like the golden age of Islam, especially their the foundation of the capital of Baghdad, which becomes, you know, a center of learning until, of course, eventually the Mongols come, but into with Hulagu. But at this point, this is like something that's more or less a blind spot for me. So it's interesting to learn this, that when the Umayyads princes goes into Iberia, and now there's a whole nother nation state created, the Emirate of Cordoba. Very interesting. The Golden Age, the Abbasids. That's what we're talking about here. The Abbasids.
The Abbasids build a new capital, Baghdad, which becomes a great center of learning.
That's it.
This is the dawn of what is often called Islam's Golden Age, with remarkable advances in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and engineering.
Yeah, and it was just like such a shock to me to understand the practicality of where this comes from. Like, you think of like algebra. Algebra is a how do I say this? Just the etymology of the word algebra is regional to this area. So like, it's so crazy to understand that a lot of these concepts that we use day to day today in 2025 are derived from this period of time.
Shi'ism, now a fully distinct branch of Islam, continues to spread across the caliphate, despite sporadic repression by its Sunni rulers. Sects emerge within Shi'ism, including Twelver Shi'ism, Ismaili Shi'ism, and Zaidi Shi'ism. Sufi movements, which focus on inner spirituality,
I don't want to make sure I missed that.
Ismaili Shi'ism, and Zaidi Shi'ism. Sufi movements, which focus on inner spirituality and detachment from worldly distractions, also emerge in this period.
Worldly distractions? I'm sorry, what worldly distractions are we talking about in 750? I mean, I think it's so abstract to think about that, but I mean, like today is obviously like the internet, the TV, everything like that. But like in 750, I wonder, and I'm not saying that like, what the heck are they talking about? I'm saying like, I'm curious, like what are they actually talking about?
Their early history is uncertain. By the 900s, much of Persia, Egypt, and Syria has turned to Islam. There are practical as well as spiritual benefits from becoming Muslim. Adopting the faith of the ruling elite offers advantages in business, networking, and status.
Yeah, it's a classist system, of course, and of course, like I said, you have a tax. I'm not sure if the Abbasids followed the same thing with the jizya tax if you're not a convert, but you have that benefit, obviously. So in your family status, you have the opportunity to advance if you are a Muslim.
But these regions still remain religiously diverse, with large Christian and Jewish communities, as well as several smaller sects. For many years, Muslim traders have been crossing the semi-arid region known as the Sahel into sub-Saharan Africa.
Oh,
Among
that's Mansa Musa right there. So we're going to talk about the Mali Empire.
Their purchases, enslaved Africans.
I think that's Mansa Musa. It looks exactly like his crown.
To be sold across the caliphate. Following these trade routes, Islam gradually spreads south. In time, as rulers and elites adopt Islam, cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Kano will become centers of Islamic learning and culture.
I had a thought, and it's escaping me. What was Timbuktu the capital of? Ah, it's killing me.
Muslim merchants also crossed the Arabian Sea and established trading hubs along the East African coast in modern Kenya, Tanzania, and Zanzibar.
Wow.
These ports become centers of commerce, connecting East Africa to a wider Indian Ocean trading zone. Such complex, long-range commercial networks, of which the famous Silk Roads are also part.
And of course, they're utilizing Silk Road not just for trade, but also through religion.
Help Islam to spread deeper into Central, South, and Southeast Asia.
Seljuk Turks. Here they come.
In Central Asia, a semi-nomadic Turkic tribe called the Seljuks converts to Islam under the guidance of their leader, Seljuk Beg.
Really want to talk about them in the future.
The Seljuks carve out their own empire across the Middle East, conquering city after city. In 1055, they capture Baghdad, becoming de facto rulers of the Islamic Caliphate. Under the Seljuks, Islamic political power and religious authority are separated.
Wow.
Seljuk sultans hold military and political power. Religious leadership is provided by the caliphs and Islamic scholars known as ulama.
Ulama.
In 1071, Seljuk Sultan Alp Arslan defeats the Byzantine Empire at Manzikert.
Of course, we just did the entire First Crusades series, so this is fresh. Of course, we're about to get into the First Crusade, so they're going to have of course, the video we watched yesterday with Christianity and Islam mix. Going to happen very, very soon.
Paving the way for Muslim conquest of Anatolia. But Christendom strikes back.
Yep.
Pope Urban calls for a holy war to liberate the Holy Land. And in 1099, Crusaders storm Jerusalem. Crusader states are established in the region.
Of course, you have the Fatimids to the left. I'm not sure. I don't see that label, but you have the Fatimids down here in Egypt, which is kind of like a... and there's a lot of states happening. There's a lot of other states here, like Aleppo and others as well. So there's a lot of factions within the faction itself.
But remain areas of mixed faith. It is a period of political fragmentation in the Muslim world.
Right there, the red.
Much of the old empire is now ruled by regional dynasties and sects. Seljuks, Ghaznavids, Almoravids, and Fatimids. But in the 12th century, a Kurdish general known as Saladin succeeds in uniting Egypt, Syria, and Iraq. In 1187, he recaptures Jerusalem, a prestigious victory for Saladin, and a turning point in the war against the Crusaders. Since the 8th century, Muslim merchants and Sufi mystics have traveled the Silk Roads.
It's the Mongol Empire.
Deep into Central and Eastern Asia. The number of converts to Islam grows steadily. Among them, Berk Khan, grandson of Mongol conqueror Genghis Khan. Berk is said to have encountered a caravan of Muslim merchants at Bukhara and been persuaded by their piety. For now, most Mongols remain loyal to their animist beliefs.
For now.
In 1258, Berk's cousin Hulagu.
Here's where we get into a very dark setting of the Islamic world.
Launches a devastating campaign against Muslim lands that leads to the destruction of Baghdad and execution of the Caliph. But with time, Muslim faith and culture will conquer the Mongols. Within a century, 3 of the largest Mongol Khanates, from Russia to India, take Islam as their new religion.
Of course, the only one that's not shown is the Yuan dynasty, which eventually becomes the Greater Yuan dynasty. So that's way over there. So it's very, very different area.
In Southeast Asia, centuries of contact with Muslim traders is also accelerating the spread of Islam.
Indonesia.
Around 1267, on the island of Sumatra, the Samudra Pasai Sultanate is founded.
Oh yeah, I forget. There's so many sultanates that are created here in the Southeast Indies.
Which becomes a center of Islamic learning and trade. During this period, a new Sufi order emerges in the Sultanate of Rum. The Mevlevi order, who become famous for their whirling dervish ritual, seek spiritual enlightenment and gain steadily in popularity. The 14th century sees rival dynasties vying for control in the Muslim heartlands. The Mamluks in Egypt, the Ilkhanate in Persia,
Look how big the Ilkhanate is.
and the many Turkic states of Anatolia.
Look how small the Ottomans are in this 1330 year.
Of which one will soon emerge as perhaps the greatest Muslim empire of them all.
Of course, of all time. About to take over everything.
The 1300s see the dawn of a mighty new Muslim empire. Osman I rules a small Turkic state in northwest Anatolia. Through a series of stunning conquests, his successors forged the Ottoman Empire in modern Turkey.
Jeez.
The Ottomans later advance into the Balkans, conquering Bulgaria, Serbia, and Bosnia.
And I didn't realize this until a little bit ago, meaning a few months ago, but they took a lot of the Balkans, Greece, and whatnot before Constantinople. Constantinople almost becomes an enclave inside the Ottoman Empire itself until, of course, 1453.
Over time, many locals convert to Islam, attracted by economic benefits, legal privileges, and roles in Ottoman government.
See, it didn't change.
In 1453, Sultan Mehmet II conquers Constantinople, the former heart of the Eastern Roman Empire and of Orthodox Christianity, becomes an Islamic Ottoman capital.
Istanbul.
In Southeast Asia, Islam's influence continues to alter the religious landscape. The ruler of Malacca converts in 1414. He takes the title Sultan Iskandar Shah and makes Islam the state religion.
I don't know if they've made state religions prior to this point. They might have, and I just went over my head, but I don't think they... I don't know. Maybe they did.
Through commerce and alliances, the new sultanate helps Islam to spread further in the region. In 1478, the Demak Sultanate emerges as the first major Muslim state in Java. Meanwhile, in Europe, Granada, the last Muslim stronghold in Iberia, falls to Christian forces in 1492.
The Reconquista.
It marks the end of almost 8 centuries of Muslim rule in Spain. Spanish Muslims and Jews face forced conversion to Catholicism and ultimately expulsion. In 1501, Shah Ismail I conquers Persia. He is the founder of the Safavid dynasty and declares Twelver Shi'ism the new state religion. It is why today Iran is an overwhelmingly Shia country.
See what I was talking about when I was trying to understand some of the modern differences between a Shia and a Sunni? There we go.
In 1517, Ottoman Sultan Selim I conquers Egypt and the Hejaz. He now controls Islam's 2 holiest sites,
Medina.
at Mecca and Medina, and declares himself the new caliph.
Oh. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So that's where they retroactive the caliphs. Okay.
The title will be held by Ottoman sultans for the next 400 years.
Exactly 400 years, yeah.
In 1526, Babur, a descendant of Chinggis Khan, defeats the Delhi Sultanate. He lays the foundations of the Muslim Mughal Empire that will rule over much of India and its Hindu majority for the next 2 centuries.
3 centuries.
But elsewhere, there are signs that Muslim power is beginning to wane. The Russians defeat the Khanates of Kazan, Astrakhan, and Sibir.
Wow.
While Ottoman naval power suffers a first major check at the Battle of Lepanto.
We just watched that too when we were looking at the History of Venice by Epic History.
The high water mark of Ottoman expansion comes a century later at the failed siege of Vienna.
Yep.
From around this point on,
Didn't they try to siege Vienna several times?
two great Muslim empires, the Ottoman and Mughal, find themselves increasingly challenged by internal divisions and external foes.
External foes. Yeah. British. Got the British about to come against the Indian subcontinent. Ottomans. I can't remember. It's a lot, but there's a ton. There's a ton of external threats to Ottomans, though. A ton.
In 18th century Arabia, the reformist Wahhabi movement is born,
Don't know about
characterized by suspicion of many traditional Islamic beliefs and practices. It acquires political influence through alliance with the Al Saud family, rulers of the first Saudi state.
Yes, it's most of the desert. That's interesting. So it's a different culture too.
The 19th century is an age of rampant European colonialism.
Yep.
Its targets include several Muslim countries.
You're about to see the scramble for Africa, which is going to really shake things up, starting with France into Algeria.
Such as Algeria, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan.
Yep.
In several places, Islam becomes a powerful aspect of resistance to Christian colonizers. Colonialism also contributes to the birth of a new fundamentalist movement, Salafism, which seeks a return to the practices of the early Muslim community.
Interesting.
Some of its followers will turn to armed jihad to challenge those it sees as occupiers and oppressors of Muslims.
The modern age. All right.
Following Ottoman defeat in World War I, Turkish leader Kemal Atatürk attempts to steer the country towards a more secular future. As part of the process, in 1924, he dissolves the Ottoman Caliphate, a title Turkish rulers had claimed for 4 centuries. The political earthquakes of the 20th century, world wars, communist revolution, and decolonization profoundly alter the political map of Islam. In August 1945, Indonesia declares independence from Dutch colonial rule. It becomes home
Right. So many things happened right after World War II.
to the world's largest Muslim population.
Yeah.
As the British Empire recedes, it leaves behind new divisions.
Yeah, we're gonna see a partition between Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan now.
In 1947, the partition of India creates the Muslim majority states of West and East Pakistan, which later becomes Bangladesh. In 1948, the new Jewish state of Israel is founded in what had been British Mandate Palestine.
Yeah.
In 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrows the Shah and establishes a Shia Islamic Republic, led by Ayatollah Khomeini. In the late 20th century, historic colonial ties and economic migration lead to the growth of Muslim communities across Western Europe.
It's only 7% of the population though. That's like, what is that? That's like a ton more than, like, for example, like incomparable means like how many Christians are in China. It's very small.
North America. Muslims become an integral part of the Western cultural landscape. Just as on the global stage, dangerous new tensions emerge. In 2001, a militant Islamic network called Al-Qaeda attacks the Twin Towers in New York. Suddenly, across much of the West, Islam is seen as a threat.
Wait, it wasn't Iraq? I'm trolling. Calm down.
Vilified by some media and politicians. A gulf grows between how most Muslims see their faith and some perceptions in the West. Tensions between religious and political extremists persist in the West to the present day.
Really?
There have also been serious conflicts between the state and some Muslim groups in Russia,
Of course.
Myanmar,
Yeah, not talked about enough.
ongoing persecution in China,
Not talked about enough.
and an escalating conflict in Israel-Palestine. These are not the first crises in Islam's 1400-year history, a period in which the religion has shown incredible endurance and adaptability. Carried by traders and conquerors, it has traveled.
I love this map, how it shows. Wow. There's 96 million Muslims in Nigeria. That's crazy. I did not know that. I did not know that. There's not a lot of Muslims sub-Saharan though. Well, I mean, Nigeria is technically sub-Saharan. Interesting how it's like, it's got to be a lot with like what we saw in the last video, where the transatlantic slave trade actually brought a lot of Christianity to the western coast and probably South Africa as well. 4 million, 7 million, 5 million, 3 million, 15 million in Russia. That surprises. Well, it doesn't surprise me given the historical context.
Traveled to distant lands, from Iberia to Indonesia, uniting peoples and inspiring the rise of great civilizations.
Surprised to see 9 million in Philippines, actually. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Whether seen through the lens of faith or
He didn't show how many he's in the United States. Sad. I was gonna comment on that.
or history, the rise of Islam is one of the most remarkable journeys in our collective past. Its legacy lives on in the 1.9 billion Muslims
So
on
close.
Earth today.
Wow, what a video. I love that. I love this video. I love the video yesterday. I love this video today. It really, I mean, history is not just wars and battles. It is political influence. It's religious influence. A lot of wars are through religious influence, as we've seen. Can we just all live together in peace, happiness? Like, I'm not trying to just kumbaya, but at the same time, guys, it seems that there's so many like claims, differences, and opinions, but we're all rooted in humanity at some point. At some point, down to the atoms of our beings, we are the same. It's so elementary to argue and to revolt and to kill each other over this, whether it be the mini wars, what's going on in Gaza, which is horrendous, and I cannot leave this video without saying that is just a horrendous, despicable thing what we're seeing in Gaza for what Israel is doing. Cannot leave this video without saying that. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. This was a very interesting video to kind of understand the concepts of the diverseness of the Islamic faith. Very interesting stuff. Until next time though, peace out. Have a great one.